We've all heard of tax packs, but these are tax packers, half a dozen employees of the Newcastle Tax Office giving their time to help make Christmas enjoyable for hundreds of families. They're packing 2,000 hampers which will be distributed in the Hunter, Taree and Tamworth regions. Inside is everything required for a Christmas lunch, including a ham, peanuts and Christmas pudding. The total value around $20. The hampers will be handed out next week along with bundles of toys. Inside this room alone there are 5,000 toys just waiting for Santa to pick up. The cost of the hampers and the toys have been covered by donations, but it has stretched the agency's budget to the limit.
We were expecting an increase of approximately 25% and we catered for that. However, the increase is going closer to 40%.
Although around 30% of Australia's population live in rural and remote areas, most medical graduates choose not to practice in the country.
Many find it more difficult to stay there for protracted periods, and that oftentimes the sense of isolation and distance from other connections are a problem.
Based at the University of Newcastle, Professor John Hamilton is chairman of a Commonwealth steering committee that's looked into the state of rural health practices. A draft report has been prepared and will be considered by a number of bodies, including the Australian Medical Association. With the help of federal funds, the findings reveal that Australia's 10 medical schools could do more to better serve rural health needs.
What is being recommended is mechanisms of improving access of students to come in from rural areas to study medicine, a deepening of their curriculum experience, and included in that a much better placement of students out into country areas.
A final report will be presented to Health Minister Senator Richardson early next year. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Years of first-grade knowledge have gone into the development of the pads. 12 months ago, Robbie McCormack, Glenn Miller and Brad Godden designed their prototype, and all last season trialled the new gear themselves or with the night's lower grades.
Yeah, we had to chop and change a bit, get the pads in the right spot, but we've come up with what we think is a good mixture of padding and mesh and lightweight shoulders.
The foam cushions are located where they found most players were receiving serious injuries.
If you get hit in the sternum, in the bones area, you're out for about 5 weeks. So prevention is better than cure. So we're going for that because most of the hits now are being hit front on chest. So what we're doing is trying to protect areas which get hurt, and we cut away a lot of the bulky stuff that was never needed.
The pads are lightweight enough for backs to wear, allowing plenty of movement, and will come in sizes from children to adults. At the moment, they're being made at Port Macquarie. The group insisted they be manufactured in Australia, and if sales take off, it could become a full-time job for the trio.
We're trying to keep everything as local as possible, and if they go well, we're looking at buying equipment and starting a manufacturing plant here in Newcastle.
The new pads will be on the shelves by early next year.
Kids from Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital were introduced to a few of the residents from the Australian Reptile Park at Gosford. These slimy and scaly natives are touring various hospitals across the state in the lead up to Christmas. This is Madeline, a diamond python. Reptiles feel the cold, but you're not advised to do this to keep them warm. After the show, everyone had a chance to experience a new sensation. Some of these children have spent weeks in hospital, so the experience was a welcome break. The biggest hit, Mr. Snappy, a crocodile that will grow to 7 metres.
Last year, 19 complaints about Lake Macquarie Council were lodged with the Ombudsman's Department. Following Gosford City Council, it was the highest in the state. Most of the complaints, though, were relatively minor, which prompted Ombudsman David Lander to visit the city today and talk with the Mayor and Council staff. Mr Lander wants Lake Macquarie to try to work out its own complaints.
Conciliation, where people say, hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and this is how it happened, it gives the highest level of satisfaction.
Mr Lander has been pushing for public authorities to mediate on complaints made against them, but this will be the first time a local council has done so. He and Mayor John Kilpatrick are confident it will work, but to do so, staff need to be trained and a system put into operation.
The suggestion that's come from Mr Lander is that we get some of our staff involved in the mediation training that's available through his office, and the next course we're told is in March, and we'll be endeavouring to arrange for people to be present there to start to be involved in that sort of training.
Now get some dirt.
Lessons were held outdoors today for Year 2 students from Merryweather's St Joseph's Primary. This year, the school was one of 94 to nurture native seedlings, these plantlings destined for Burwood Beach.
We've been keeping it in an old fish tank with lots of air, so lots of moisture, so it keeps growing.
The scheme has combined the efforts of a number of environmental groups and the help of unemployed youths under the government's Land Care and Environment Action program. And the roots of Operation Propagation are spreading far and wide.
There's a lot of other schools that are working for different groups. The Kooragang Island Rehabilitation Program, the Toronto Greenway Program, as well as various riverbank stabilisation programs in the Upper Hunter.
The program has been such a success, it's set to continue next year. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Police launch Fearless took the distress call just after 10 this morning. A small cruiser was taking water about 7 kilometres west of Nobbies. But as the Fearless broke through the swells, visibility was extremely difficult as a heavy fog hung over the coast. As the search continued, the Fearless headed north and breaking through the mist, the Lady Nelson was spotted drifting with the tide. On board, Jeff Long from Nelson Bay and Max Poole of Wangi, the men working to pump water out of the engine. They were travelling from Port Stephens to Lake Macquarie when a hole developed in the engine's muffler. On arrival, the police realised the crew was okay, threw them a line and towed them to safety. Michael Hill was one of the founding fathers of the Knights, working as an organiser and board member. But Hill believes it's time to hang up his boots as the board chairman. But it's not the end of his association. He's moving on to the advisory committee, a group set up by the New South Wales Rugby League, which is overseeing the club's direction.
I can go on that committee without any ties to the current structure and give what I think the advice should be for how it should set itself up over the next 12 months.
Still on the Knights, and a history-making move by Knights supporter Denise Audette.
I'm very Newcastle Knights orientated.
You're red and blue through?
Yes, red and blue.
Denise, who works in real estate with Knights forward Mark Glanville, is the first woman to nominate for the Knights board. Her move likened to a certain politician in Canberra running for PM.
You know, they're all walking around here at the moment calling me Bronny.
6 people are running for 5 positions. Denise, who is a foundation member of the Knights, says she hopes to breathe new life into the club. Peter Ryan, NBN News. The Newcastle Jockey Club has been inundated with race nominations in preparation for the Classic on March 1st next year.
It has been a very good guide to the slipper in the past. We've had 3 winners of the Coca-Cola Classic who've won the slipper.
Trainers have been offered a $10,000 bonus for the winning horse. One of the early fancies, Marweena, seen here taking out the Breeders' Plate at Randwick on September 25th. And the filly Sign Language with 2 wins in her last 2 starts. Trainer David Hayes has put in 12 nominations.
I've got no doubt he'll have at least one runner. He won the race last year with Zodiac Miss.
Meanwhile, the Newcastle Jockey Club has bagged a new promotion. 100,000 paper bags have been produced and distributed around local shops. The bag will get you a free ticket into selected races next year.
Hydromatic Engineering at Redhead has established itself in the domestic market for the supply of equipment to the coal mining industry. The company is rapidly gaining international attention for its hydraulic roof bolting machinery, which is used for strata control in underground coal mining. Hydromatic has exported to British and Canadian mines, and this week sealed a $2 million contract to supply a Chinese mining company.
We've worked at this for a lot of years now, and it's very significant that we get an order out of China, especially as once I thought this is too hard for me, but we had a delegation of 6 Chinese here on Monday and Sunday, and we've now managed to tie an order up for 3 mobile type bolting machines.
The deal was secured against competition from American equipment suppliers and comes with a company aiming to expand its export markets by 50% in the next 3 years. John Wood believes the Northern Hemisphere holds huge potential for their equipment.
Well, I think that the potential is beyond what we can sort of comprehend at this moment.
Success for Hydromatic Engineering has meant an increase in their workforce, with the number of employees rising from 63 to 93 in less than a year, and there are plans for additional workshop facilities. Trolley pushing was the order of the day at the Department of Defence in Canberra as the mountains of paperwork from the tenderers arrived for the next stage of the selection process.
Newcastle was the name on everyone's lips in Canberra today as the 3 tenderers handed over their submissions to the Department of Defence. Australian Submarine Corporation and Australian Defence Industries have both nominated Newcastle as their only preferred site for the project, while Transfield Shipbuilding has nominated Newcastle and Western Australia for the project, leaving the decision on the site to the Department of Defence and the federal government.
Meanwhile, the state government today expanded its Minehunter task force. Membership has now been extended to the Lord Mayor, Newcastle Chamber of Commerce, Newcastle Trades Hall Council and a local Labor parliamentarian. Graham Jeffries from the Chamber of Commerce believes the move will enhance Newcastle's chances of securing the work.
So I think it's been very important that community input be part of this project bid, and the awarding, the announcement today of these additional people and the calibre of the type of people, it certainly augurs well for our city and our bid.
An announcement on the successful tenderer for the Minehunter is expected from the federal government in about June next year. The events at Nelson Bay on the afternoon of April 5 shocked the close-knit community. 21-year-old Adam Reid, who suffered from schizophrenia and was a confessed cannabis user, went to the police station believing he'd committed a crime and was intent on sorting it out. During a cursory search by Sergeant Jeff Smith, Reid grabbed the officer's revolver, shooting the policeman twice. The young man ran into the street where he took his own life. An inquest into Reid's death concluded today in the Newcastle Coroner's Court.
Coroner Col Elliott found Adam Reid's death had been contributed to by the use of cannabis exacerbating his schizophrenia. The coroner has directed his concerns about the caseloads being handled by community mental health services be brought to the attention of the Health Minister. He's recommended public understanding about schizophrenia be improved so greater care can be extended to sufferers.
Coroner Elliott also addressed concerns about how Adam Reid managed to obtain Sergeant Smith's revolver, accepting the officer's holster wasn't defective and that the sergeant had attempted to prevent his pistol from firing. Outside the court, Adam Reid's father, John, declined to be interviewed, but wants to continue his campaign to help people suffering mental illness. The Newcastle-Sydney Freeway has vastly improved road transport links for both the Hunter region and the north of the state over the past decade. Opening of the newer section brings the state and federal road authorities to their next hurdle, a link road between the freeway and the New England Highway. Consultants are investigating an option known as the Curry Corridor, which would take traffic from Seahampton west of Newcastle to link with the New England at Branxton. Tim Patterson from Connell Wagner says their work is also aimed at finding long-term advantages for motorists in the lower Hunter.
We looked at a large range of issues, and I think its major benefits are particularly the regional transportation role that it can serve, and its role as infrastructure in future economic development of the Lower Hunter.
Rerouting of traffic through the Lower Hunter for freeway construction and changing traffic flows across the region have taken their toll on local roads in several council areas. However, it could take 5 to 20 years before the $200 million national highway link becomes a reality. Detailed investigation work into the proposed route alignment is expected to be completed early next year, with recommendations going to state and federal governments on the viability of the project late in 1994.
That's what I like about this job, putting people on television.
Last night the Breakers were put through the ringer in a half-hour motivational lecture. The speaker pulled no punches in his appraisal of the team's recent performances.
Intensity from go to woe, isn't that your problem?
Over and over he preached to them that they had to be determined to turn the serious looks into seriously impressive football. With the mind worked over, it was the body's turn, with an aerobics workout at the executive gym. The footwork didn't always match the beat, but it didn't take long for the heavy sweating to start. Although aerobics is not something that's always on the training schedule, most enjoyed the change. For Graham Jennings, the lesson on concentration worked almost immediately. Just what he was concentrating on is still unclear.
Manufacturing industries in the Hunter end 1993 in two groups. Some have survived the tough haul and look to a bright new year, but others are in a battle for survival. While export workers save many companies, the Chamber of Manufacturers believes projects like the Navy Mine Hunters hold the economic injection urgently needed in the region.
There's the mine hunters that we're hoping to get, and there's also the topside modules that we're hoping to get, and it would be fantastic if we could get those. It'll certainly start the new year off the right way, but right now things are still fairly tough.
The Chamber believes banks now have a crucial role to play in the revival of manufacturing industry.
Let's start to look at small business, particularly those with a good track record, and let's start to lend them a bit of money so that they can not only get their confidence back, but they can start to generate new export markets.
The Chamber says employment levels will remain steady in the next few months, with a possibility manufacturers in the Hunter could face a skills shortage as the local economy improves.
The Breakers' defence cracked each of the 3 times Marconi scored because the last line was simply overrun. It appeared the players upfield failed to pull their weight and take the pressure off when it was really needed. Coach Jim Foley says some of his big-name players were guilty of only token defence and not totally committed. Tonight the players are back at the gym working on their coordination and teamwork. An announcement on who will be warming the bench will be made later in the week. And although they play bottom of the ladder Heidelberg on Boxing Day at home, their recent losses and the threat of the axe will ensure the Newcastle boys aren't complacent.
A group of teenagers from the Newcastle suburb of Edgeworth was cruising the beaches just before 2 when, driving up the steep esplanade towards the bogey hole, they lost control of their car.
We come around the corner up there and the car lost traction and went sideways. We tried to correct and we went for the cliff and rolled down it.
Tell me, what was it like when you were going over the edge?
It's pretty spun out, it's rush.
As rescue crews arrived, 4 of the 5 boys jumped free of the car, flames leaping from the engine. Fire brigade officers pumped water onto the wreck, fearing an explosion. A backseat passenger was trapped by the legs. As ambulance officers worked on the boy, they feared the car could tumble another 10 metres to the rocks below.
The main concern was basically the car moving backwards as we were unable to tie it off properly.
After nearly 40 minutes, the boy was cut free of the vehicle, suffering a suspected fractured leg. Police, ambulance and fire brigade officers worked together to hoist the 17-year-old to the top.
It was a fairly difficult exercise, but all the services pulled together and I think we did a pretty good job. He's a lucky boy, he's lucky to see Christmas.
He was taken to John Hunter Hospital in a satisfactory condition. Another passenger also went to hospital with cuts to his face. The other 3 suffered shock. Peter Ryan, NBN News. It's not quite Rudolph, Dasher and Prancer, but a state transit bus will do the job just the same. Well, almost. Santa took to the wheel at the Hamilton depot today, taking a load of toys for the Smith family. Local bus drivers, their passengers and state transit workers gave generously, the bus filled with thousands of toys.
We've had Space Invader games, we've had boogie boards, roller skates, numerous dolls, skateboards, just about everything.
It's a great boost for the Smith family, with the demand for help up 50% on last year.
Punters say it may sound old-fashioned, but they would rather get more cash back than they hand over. With just 3 days before Christmas, there were plenty of people on course handing over the dollars, hoping to improve their holiday pay packets. Track officials say the prize pool on nearly every race was up $10,000 to $20,000. Today was also marketed as a family affair, and the kids were loving the atmosphere. And in true trotting tradition, Santa arrived and left by gig, not before handing over hundreds of little prezzies. But the big presents came with the running of the Cessnock Australia Hotel Christmas Cup. 1, 8 and 4, General Fox paid $3.90 and $1.50, the trifecta $77. It's unashamedly aimed at the corporation boardroom and not the local small business. Ken Sutcliffe hosts the 10-minute tape explaining that companies not only get prominent logo positioning, but free television time across the country.
This involves dominant featuring of your logo on the front and back of each player's jersey, plus similar exposure on their shorts. This means your organisation's name and logo can be on display continuously for 2 hours weekly from February to the end of August each year before an average TV audience of almost 1.5 million people.
A benefit that sits foremost in the minds of existing Winfield Cup team sponsors.
We calculate that an annual $700,000 sponsorship gives you many times the value of a national television campaign. It's a compelling reason not to miss out on the potential of rugby league.
And while the bosses of the boardroom toss that over in their mind, they're reminded of the other spin-offs: corporate boxes, extra tickets and seats at the Sydney Football Stadium and Lang Park. The league also pushes the line that Newcastle people show loyalty to their team sponsors and buy their product. The video cost a few thousand to produce and will become a basic format that can be easily re-edited to help other teams. It's already been shown to a couple of prospective sponsors, and it's believed a major company may not be far away from signing up. Darren Curtis, NBN News.
Cameras are now often used in surgery to magnify the surgeon's view inside the body. However, only recently have miniature instruments and lenses been made for use during operations on babies. The John Hunter Hospital was today presented with a cheque for $13,000 from the Master Plumbers and Electrical Associations. The money will be used to buy the surgical instruments.
This particular equipment is an advantage to us because it's been miniaturised and scaled down specifically for babies. So up to date we couldn't do this. The fibre optic potential and the camera equipment and the telescopes were just not small enough.
It's an early Christmas present doctors believe will have great benefits to all children requiring abdominal surgery.
It's the children who will benefit from this, because if we can perform the same operation but by using miniaturised equipment, then hopefully the child will have suffer less and will do better in the long term.
The hospital will buy the equipment early next year. Jane Anderson, NBN News. Shopping centres were crowded today as Christmas drew a little closer. If you haven't bought all your presents and you don't fancy battling the queues, it's bound to be a little less hectic between midnight and dawn. Grace Brothers at Charlestown Square is targeting insomniacs and 9-to-5ers by staying open all night tomorrow. Trading will continue through till 5:30 on Christmas Eve. Store manager Steve Usher says sales are up by about 15% on last year, with more people choosing to pamper rather than be practical.
They seem to be going for the luxury goods this year, which is quite unusual. We're selling an awful lot of French fragrances, as you can see alongside us here, and major appliances such as TVs and videos, they're going very well as well.
David Jones too says shoppers are parting with more of their money. However, as soon as the pre-Christmas shopping spree is over, the sales will begin on Monday.
People always manage to put a little bit aside for the Christmas sale.
A warning though from charities about the need to show some restraint when shopping, leaving enough for those post-Christmas bills. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
In Australia for 4 months on leave from the University of California, Dr. Rick Bennett is looking to launch milk into the space age.
Project called HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. It was a concept used by NASA to keep food quality aboard the spaceships perfect.
It's a world first for the dairy industry. Working with Australian Cooperative Foods, Dr. Bennett is studying 10 farms in the Hunter Valley. While quality is already good, he says by highlighting areas such as animal care, water quality and milk vat refrigeration beyond already stringent levels, the product can get better.
We're giving them some very detailed service and education on how best to produce the highest milk quality.
With the milk industry deregulating and competition increasing for set markets, farmers say they must keep improving the product.
If they want to stay in business, they've got to produce a quality milk.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.